inspired by kingdom principles that work for you.
Hey everyone, this is your girl Rayette Spence, and welcome to another episode of Relationship Matters. Have I told you lately that I love you? I really do. I appreciate all of the support, all of the kind words for you tuning into our shows. I appreciate all of the comments that you're leaving, the little WhatsApps that you sent to say that the shows are really helping you. And I pray that we will continue in that vein and that we continue to uplift, to motivate, and to change relationships one show at a time. And we have another awesome show today. Now, this show, everybody can participate in, not only participate in, but can glean from and get some knowledge. Now, this is a heavy topic. You know, we're all getting ready for the Yuletide season. Christmas season, you know what that means for many, money and the lack thereof. And so a lot of us are getting ready to go into that depressed mode, but we're here to help you today. And we're going to talk about finances in relationships, finances in your life, how to get it together. And I have one of the most knowledgeable persons in this field. Listen to me. You want to call everybody, mommy, grammy, auntie, sister, uncle, brother, daddy, everybody, and you want to gather them around because Mistress Keshelle Davis is here. Now, I have known Keshelle from, I don't know how long. She has helped myself. She's helped my girls club. She's helped my girls. They've become budding entrepreneurs because of her wisdom. I've watched her mentor her own daughter and seen what she has become because of her knowledge. So I know that this is going to be a phenomenal show and it's going to help you. So without further ado, I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to welcome Mrs. Keshelle Davis in the room.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Keshelle.
Back. So the lighting was perfect until I came on, and now the sun is looking like it's setting, but that's fine.
That's fine. We can see you. We can see you. We all know that what happens behind the scenes, right? But what happens behind the scenes stays behind the scenes. How are you?
I am good. I feel good. It's a beautiful day, and I look forward to this conversation.
Yes, I was around when you were a Kerr. I was around when you were Keshelle Kerr. I remember being at your first book signing, and I've watched you blossom into this phenomenal global mogul that everybody wants and everybody needs to sit at their feet. And so I'm excited that you're here with me today. I feel blessed of the blessed. I'm privileged of the privileged that you have taken out some time to come talk to little old me.
Oh, don't do it.
But I remember your baby sat under me for a few years, and you have been. I don't know if I've ever told you this, Keshelle, but some of the things that you taught us, me, the girls, and all of us, I still take some of those things through to now. I still practice some of those things, and I know that you're going to be able to help our audience because I know that you've helped me. So let's just get into it.
Let's get into it.
Now, before we get into it, I want you to tell them a little bit about yourself because during this show too, I want you to just drop some information. I'll give you an opportunity to do that, but people can reach out to you who want to further do some training or get some one-on-one mentorship or whatever. So tell us a little bit about Keshelle Davis.
Wow, Keshelle is an evolving human being. So when people ask me, tell about myself, I kind of just could talk about what I am right now. I am a founder of the Training Authority. That's my company, and we work with people who want to start, grow, and lead in business. I'm an entrepreneur by heart. And so that means that I've worked with many organizations. I am also a teacher and believe in spreading my knowledge so that together we can progress our society. And so when it comes to education, business, wealth creation, vision, all of those keywords are words that I have spent years studying, developing, teaching, and it really is what has made me who I am today. I'm a wife and a mother of a beautiful 20-year-old now. She's 20 now.
Yes,
Adult
I can't
now.
believe it.
Beautiful 20-year-old girl.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Keshelle. All right, so let's just get into it. Now, of course, my show is about relationships, right?
Mhm.
You do finance as well. And whenever you hear relationships going through turmoil or for some reason may have ended or whatever, there are always three things that come up: infidelity, they never used to listen to me, lack of communication, and then the big F word, finances, the stress of finances. So let's just get into that, Keshelle. First of all, how important is finances in a relationship? How important is it?
Finances is important not only in a relationship, finances is important for life. And so if we put it in the context of a relationship, it's critical, right? And I
Right.
think it's perhaps even more important because now we have finances in and of itself as an individual is important. But now we have two people, two imperfect
Mhm.
people, two people with their own thoughts, their own attitudes, their own histories when it comes to money and how they manage their finances. I agree. It could make or break a relationship, marriage relationship. Yeah.
Yeah. So you said something very important, Keisha, and I'm just going to piggyback on that. You said two people coming together.
Mhm.
So what is it then? Because marriage, like we always talk about, it doesn't really change who you are, it magnifies who you are. And a lot of us grow up with parents who didn't teach us how to save. You get a dollar, you spend a dollar. And not
Mhm.
necessarily because that was the thing to do, but because that's all they knew. Most
Mhm.
of us grew up in survival mode. And so we bring those same habits into a relationship. So, how important is it to start training children, to start training and that's the thing that I love about you. How do
Mhm.
we start training children? Give us some little nuggets. I get to the adults, but let's
Yeah.
start from right here. How do
Yeah.
we
You
start
know.
getting our children to understand savings? What are some practical
Yeah.
things we can do?
First of all, that's when I started Creative Wealth, which was now 12, maybe or more years ago. That was the premise I
Yes.
started that company with. The fact that even in my early 20s, who wanted to be a financially successful person was making major mistakes because I realized then that I wasn't taught how to manage money. We want to be good with money, but we don't know how. And so that's
Right.
how Creative Wealth started. And so that's still a area that's near and dear to me. And how do we start? One, we recognize as parents, as humans, that we were not taught, right? Sometimes having that level of awareness is the first step to change. And you know what? Hey, I wasn't taught about money. And
Right.
so and it's something that it's just as important to teach, just like math and English and science.
Mhm.
And having
Yes.
that awareness then takes you on that path to say, okay, what do I need to know? So that's the first thing. Be aware that you didn't know, and don't beat yourself up. It's just a lack of awareness.
Right.
And two,
Right.
from a kid standpoint, I always like to say it like this: the minute your child asks for $1 or $10, because sometimes these kids don't ask for $1 now, they will ask for more than $1.
Okay.
So the minute your child begins to ask for money or understands what money is in the context of their life, that is that prime opportunity to start teaching them, how, showing them the piggy bank, teaching them, I always like to say change adds up. So putting a small piece aside of paying themselves first,
Yes.
giving
Yes.
them, one of the things that I did with Keshelle was I gave her money to spend on her own needs, right? So for example, what I did instead of buying her uniform, just for lack of something, that's the first thing that came to my mind. Instead of me putting that
Uh-huh.
out of my pocket, and say I'm going to go to the store and buy her a uniform or a book or anything that she needed. I gave it to her to buy.
To manage.
Yes, to manage, to buy, to use. So it gave her that experience at an early age to be used to spending money, not only spending money, but managing it, but also understanding needs versus wants. Because as parents, we tend to just give our kids what they want, and they don't have that experience of covering expenses and the necessities of life until they become adults. And by that time, it's too late. So I gave her. She purchased stuff for herself. I just spent the money through her. And I think that has been really one of the things that was helpful.
So that was a good principle, because I know too, the school where I taught, one of my co-teachers, she had a savings club with children. Like I said, I'm going to get into it down, but I think it's so important that we have to start training children. We have to. I wish someone had trained me, that I wouldn't be in such, in the dilemma that we're in financially. But I remember one of the things that she did as the club was she let parents give each of the children $10. And she took them to Solomon's. That was the field trip. And the parents gave them a list and told them they needed to bring these things home in order of importance, because you only had $10. And she said the way those kids, and I think we underestimate children so much.
Absolutely.
She said the way they were through those aisles and calculating their money, and I have to put this back, and it was just mind blowing. And so I think that's one of the things. Now, I want you to talk about. Let's go back to finances in relationship. Let's talk about budgeting, Keshelle. Budgeting. It's just so much that we could talk about with finances. Let's talk about budgeting. And like you said, not just for marriages, not just relationships. Let's just help people. Because I think relationships are better when people feel better about themselves. And when I broke, I don't feel too hot about myself. And so that's transcends to my marriage, to being a good sister, to being a good daughter, to being a good employee, because I broke.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And I think this is, if we could just grip this thing at the neck, and all it is taking on the principles. Let's talk about budgeting.
Yeah, so one of the things that you talk about being broke, and so when I started Creative Wealth, there were, and there still are, 23 financial principles that I teach, and I pretty much carried the lessons, and so I would teach them in different ways. And one of the principles is this: being broke is a temporary financial position. Being poor is a state of mind. Okay, and
say that again. Say that again, Keshelle.
Okay, I'll slow down.
Say that again.
So being broke is a temporary financial position. Being poor is a state of mind. And so what does that mean? Okay, I think everyone, successful or not, have been broke at one point of their life, right? You think of the success, and I won't call any names, but the successful, wealthy men and women, and I've had an opportunity to learn and work from them, but they've all been broke, right? And so that's a part of it. The difference is, one, whether that is your permanent state, meaning whether you're perpetually broke, and that's a cycle that you keep coming to. And more importantly than that, what is the state of mind, right? Because I'll tell you, you can have lots of money and still have a poor mentality, and that still is harmful.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's understanding where your mindset is and recognizing that if there is a point in time in your life that you are temporarily broke, that you have no money. Let me I always like to share from my experiences. So when I'm times in my life where I don't have no money, right? So I'm building a business. I always remind myself, because I'm like you, Rayette, when I don't have no money, look, I'm happy. Okay. I even gonna pretend. I'm like, you know what? I try to cover it up every now and again, but I'm like, okay, I feel some type of way. You know why? Because I got no money.
Right. Exactly.
So that's the reality. But when that happens, I always remind myself, okay, why is that? Why is that? Because the money that's coming in and out of my hands is being used to invest in bigger and greater and more things. And so I might be
Yeah.
temporarily broke today, but my mindset is wealthy because I'm taking the money that did come in and I'm investing it for greater returns. Someone else might be broke because the money that's coming into their hands is spending it on junk, things that will not return, right? And so when you have
Right.
that period of brokenness, you have to look at, okay, why is that? Am I doing that because I'm investing for my future returns? And so right now, my short term uh, comfort is not there because I'm looking at future, or I'm spending all of my money on clothes, shoes, all the stuff that
Right.
won't bring an
That
ultimate
can
return.
bring no return. I like that, Keshelle. So to summarize that, you said being broke is a temporary. So temporary, what separates temporary and being broke from being poor is where your money's going and what it's
Exactly.
going to bring back to you.
Yeah.
That's why you can have plenty money and still be poor. Because you
Absolutely.
ain't turning that over. It's just going out, just going out.
Mhm.
Okay, Keshelle. All right, so someone's sitting here watching this saying, Rayette and Keshelle crazy. You know why? Because I have $150 that I make a week. $175. I have three children. I gotta pay light, I gotta pay rent, I gotta pay all these things. I will always be poor and broke. What can I invest in from $175? Where can I see a return from $175? How do I make $175 work? How do I do it? We hear
Ray,
all of these success stories.
yeah,
How do we do it?
that takes a deeper answer, and so I'll answer it in a couple of ways. So one, if you there's the saying Henry Ford, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Okay, so that's the first
Mm-hmm.
thing. If you say to yourself and you think that I can always be poor, then you're right because it
Yep.
starts with your belief. So that's the first thing. The second thing is there are countless stories of people who were in similar situations and pulled themselves out of those situations again because of a different mindset. They realized, I love the saying that whenever I'm going through something, I always remember what T.D. Jakes said in a book that I read. I can't remember which one.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, is this my fate? Meaning, is this my future, or is this just a temporary state that I am in?
Right.
Ask myself that question when I'm, faced with certain things, and 9 times out of 10, it's just a state that I'm in, but it's not my fate.
Right.
Right? My fate is something
Right.
greater and bigger. And so
That's
when you look
it.
at things like that, you have to determine, is this my fate? Meaning, am I destined to be poor for the rest of my life? And the truth of the matter is, we all have the power to make a change in our lives we don't want. And if we realize that it's not we're not destined to it, what changes can we make? Now,
Yeah.
it's difficult. Now, don't get me wrong. I am not being insensitive. A person who making $175 with 3 kids, it is difficult. It's crazy difficult. It may even feel like it's impossible. But it goes back to whether or not you want to stay in that state or whether or not you want to change. Because if you want to change, that will require you to do something differently. And
Yeah.
even if that something differently is realizing that I'm going to dedicate $5 a week over a period of years, whatever that is, but you take
Right.
yourself out of the process, change adds up. I always say that to my people when I talk about it. That means that it doesn't have to be a lot, but it's more important to develop the habit of saving, even if it's $5 a time. Listen, I've gone to the bank and I deposited $5, and I was embarrassed to do it. I'll be honest. But for me, it was less about the amount and
Mm-hmm.
more about the habit,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you could develop the habit of saving $5 a week, as that time grows, one, your confidence increases, but you also, as more monies come to your hands, because you're now moving forward towards the future that you want, the habit will be a grade where you begin to save 10, 15, 20. But if you stay there and say, oh, well, this how my life is, and I can't do nothing about it, you're right, you won't do anything about it.
Or you waiting for that $175,000 to drop before you start to save. And I think that's important what you just said. Start saving from where you are. If it's only $5, if it's only $2, develop the habit of saving. And I think we go right back to our kids again. That's how we get them to save. So I'm giving you $20 a week for lunch. Let's sit down and budget this. How much are you going to save for the week? What is it that you're going to spend on lunch? Oh, mommy, I see this I want. How are you going to get it to come out of that $20? So you can't have a hot patty or hot dog with soda and a chip every day. What are you going to give up? So let's talk about, we didn't talk about it. I kept saying let's talk about it, but we didn't talk about it. What is budgeting, Keshelle, and how do we discipline ourselves to stick to it? Because I think one of the problems with humans is this whole delayed gratification thing. We don't understand the concept of it. We don't get it. We don't get it because we like this phrase. I remember one of my friends, I heard her say this on a forum. She said, she told her girlfriend, she said, girl, I'm getting this purse because I deserve it. And she was like, what you do to deserve it? What you do? What was so spectacular about your life this week that you feel like you deserve to buy a purse? Pray tell me. She said she was so ashamed. She was like, you know what? I get it. We love to. I'm guilty. Oh, I need to treat myself. What did you do? What grand thing did you? What money did you make this week to treat yourself? So let's talk about, let's talk about budgeting. How important it is, and what process do we use?
Yeah. So I love this topic. So budget really and truly is a plan for your money. That's how I look at it. It's you telling your money where to go rather than asking your money where it went. Okay.
Okay.
So that's what it all boils down to. That you tell your money where to go. If you don't do that, you will look around and say, Lord, I had $100 in my wallet. Where did it go? Okay. So that's the first thing, having a plan for your money. However, I think where people make the mistake of not planning for their money is taking a step back, which is where I kind of went into this after creative wealth, is they don't have a vision for their life. They don't have anything that they're wanting to achieve, because at the end of the day, money is a tool to reach your dreams. And so if you don't have a vision, if you don't have goals, if you don't have dreams, where are you sending your money? Right? And I think that's where, if you followed my career, I did a whole lot of creative wealth, and then I stopped for a bit, and then I went into vision boards, because I'm like, hold on, I'm telling people how to make money, but they don't know why. Like, they don't know what their end goal is. What is the vision? Where they taking their money? And so that's where I think a lot of people are missing, where, it's not difficult to budget if you know why you're budgeting.
Why you budgeting?
Right?
So you gotta have your why.
Yeah, you have to know. For me, I don't like budget. Honestly, I'll be honest. I don't like in and of itself. I want to spend. I love to spend. However, when that feeling of spending come over me, I have to look at, okay, what are my goals?
Yes.
If I spend this today, that means that I can't have what I want tomorrow, which is more important.
Exactly.
That's the conversation that you have with yourself and say, okay, in order for me to get this, that means that I need to step back on this area. And there's nothing wrong with loving yourself. For me, how I do it, for the most part, how I do it, I love myself. I tie my celebrations to my accomplishments, right? And so for me, I want this, I'm a techie, right? So I want this, now everything is Zoom and all that. And I want this really fancy setup, this new style. I want all of that, right? But I'm saying, and I could get it. Like, I literally could get it now. But I'm like, no, I'm going to get it when I do this next thing, this project. And if that project goes really well, that's how I'm going to celebrate with
Good. Good.
I'm gonna buy myself this new stand once that project goes well. So that's how I will celebrate. And that's typically how I do it, because so you get the best of both worlds. You get what you want, but you're tying it to something that you've achieved. And that's, for me, I love that approach.
Very good. And I like something that you said. You said money is supposed to fund your dreams.
Yeah.
So if you're not telling it where to go, then you funding somebody else's.
Absolutely.
Then
Absolutely.
you are funding somebody else's. That's powerful. That's powerful. Now, Keshelle, you hit it with the vision board. You hit it. Let's talk about it. You have been phenomenal in that and leading that. And you know something? I have never ever seen it like that. Like how you just said, I tell people how to budget and how not to spend their money, but I wasn't showing them why. I have never seen it like that. See, why people perish because of lack of knowledge. You know, you're thinking, oh God, it's magazines, it's glue, it's scissors. Everybody wants to do it. I'm over it, kind of. But now I can sit down and do a vision board with what you just said, because this is where my money needs to go, and anything outside of this don't make no sense. I love that. So how do you pull your families together then, Keshelle, to do these vision boards that are important? When one member of the family, let's just say it's a husband and wife, the wife is all in for the saving. She has this vision for her family. She knows where she wants the family to go. And maybe even the husband said something. Baby, this is where I want to see us in 5 years. And she gets into wife mode. Okay, honey, we got to do this. We got to do that. We got to save this. We got to save that. And he like, listen, all right.
Too much.
For lack of, he doesn't say it verbally, but his action says,
yeah,
I got to spend everything. How do you deal with that?
Rayette, that is, that's, first of all, that's a dynamic of, that's common. That's the dynamic of husband and wife relationships, right? Even, I do an event called Together, which is a vision board event for couples. Glenn and I have been doing it, I think 2-3 years now. And that is the cry where, I want to come, but my husband ain't really interested and all that stuff, right? So that's normal, first of all. I think what has to happen is, one, you have to recognize, going back to what you said, communication.
Yes.
You have to, just because I am directly interested in it, and I want my husband to do something with me, just because I want him to do it doesn't mean that he has to do it, right?
Right.
You have to appreciate where he is at, and be willing to go through the journey with him, and that may take longer than you want. And as women, I'm a driven woman. I'm surrounded by driven women. We want things done yesterday, especially when it comes to what we want. So let's be real.
Yes.
So, but sometimes our men on their own clock, and we have to, as knowing that we have to be okay with that, and be prepared to go through the journey. Now, the second thing about that is you may have to just begin to negotiate and compromise, right? So for me, I'll give you a prime example. So today, I did this course about 2-3 weeks ago, and it was on purpose, right? So just finding the next level vision for my life and purpose, and so that's what I did. And I wanted to share it with my husband, and I'm like, man, he ain't gonna really get it unless he go through the class himself. And so I said, okay, the sun now starting to come down. Good. So I said, man, listen, honey, I want you to attend this class. I paid for the class and all of that stuff. And at first I was like, the alpha female in me was like, I signing you up for this class and you need to go. And he was like, we need to discuss this. And I had to, okay.
Pull back, right?
And I had to like, I'm like, okay, yes, you're right. We need to discuss this. This time my mind is ready made up. We need to go to this thing. And so we discussed it, and I told him why I wanted it, and then we came to this agreement. And his thing was, I told him it's 2 hours, and it was short. To me, 2 hours is nothing. To him, that's 2 hours. I could be not
doing something else.
Yeah. So they say, okay, you can, if you go, if for any reason you don't like it, you are okay to leave. Now, this time I saying to myself, you better not leave. Like, you better stay into the hole.
You better like it.
Exactly. I can say that. I had to say, okay, that's a deal. That's a deal. If you don't like it, you can leave. Today was the seminar, and he stayed actually after the thing, because they had a after event, and he enjoyed it to the fullest, right? And so I say that to say sometimes we as women have to kind of take it a different pace with our husbands when it comes to vision board, when it comes to finances, anything that we want, because we are typically the drivers a lot of times.
Right.
You have to be okay with, all right, let's just take it a different approach, and realize, and then get to know your spouse. And for me, I had to remember, even with that process, that my husband says no before he says yes.
Okay.
Right? He will say no before he says yes. And if I react to the no, like, no, you telling me no, like that's
right.
Keshelle, he ain't gonna get to yes. But if I say, okay, all right, this time I won't throw my tantrum, but if I say, okay, all right, think about it then, and humble myself when he said no, 9 times out of 10, he's going to think about it, and he's going to come back and say, okay, honey, tell me about that thing again. And so we have to appreciate who our husbands are, and be prepared to kind of go through a different journey with them, because they want the same thing ultimately. They want us to succeed.
Because lots of times it's their idea. But listen, Keshelle, listen. We gotta stop right there. I don't even know. We have so much more to talk about. And like I always say on the show, we are out of time, but we are not out of content. So you know what that means, right? There has to be you got it, listening audience, a part 2. I'm so sorry that you have to wait to see the next episode, but we're going to get into some real deep stuff financially on the next episode. But until then, guys, let's get those finances together. Let's start putting some of these principles into play. I'm sure on part 2, Keshelle is going to really break it down for us and tell us exactly what it is that we need to do, that we can be met exactly where we are. I am Rayette Spence, here with Relationship Matters for RBNTV Network, saying to you that we are changing relationships one life at a time. See you next time.
Watching RBNTV. We are networking, promoting, we're scoring points for you, proclaiming, declaring, here to encourage you. No matter the problem, we will enlighten you. We hear you, please listen. There is a point of view. You're watching RBNTV. We're transforming minds, empowering lives, inspired by kingdom principles.